YouTube Ozick going the Goat House is back. And recently we created an NFL Top 100 Players list of 2020, and that was actually put together by a group of fans. And we split those episodes up, and I know most of you probably seen them. I appreciate you for watching, but I thought, why not? Let's put it all together, make one giant video if you want to rewatch it, or if anybody new hasn't seen it yet. So, yeah, really enjoyed creating this. I know the fans that were involved did as well. A lot of people thought it was better than the actual players list, so I thought that was pretty cool that people actually thought that here. But we can do more videos like this in the future involving some fans. And, yeah, hopefully you enjoy the video here. If you haven't seen it, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Check out our Twitter, Instagram, podcast, Patreon. You see it on the screen. Any link that you need is in the description of the comments for any of those things. Would really appreciate it if you can just check it out. Trying to reach that 60K subscriber goal by week 1 of the NFL or early in the season works out for us. So I'd appreciate a subscription, and if you can smash that like button. Full NFL coverage in season. I cannot wait. It's almost here. Texans, Chiefs on the 10th. It's right around the corner here, so I'm really excited for that. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. That's going to do it for me right here. Goodbye. Here's some important notes about how this list was created. So the fans were our Patreon members. There's a Patreon link in the description in the comments. More things like this will pop up, and plenty of other bonus content for Patreon members. And we did a giveaway on Twitter. So everybody, each of these people here created a top 50 list. So they made their top 50 players in the NFL, and that is based on right now. So not the past, not predicting the future, top 50 players right now. So then we combined all those fans' rankings and averaged it out until we have a top 100. 90 total players received votes. So we didn't get 100 players that received votes, but I got that group of fans back together, and they agreed on numbers 91 through 100. So the final 10 players they agreed on. So we're going to go through this 100 to 81 in this video, and then every single night one of these videos will come out until we get to number 1. I got to give a shout out to the participants here. We got 11, and you can see on the screen some of them want to shout out to their name, some of them to their Twitter. So you can find them if you want to discuss with them, what went into their rankings if you want. I don't want these people bothered too much, though, but had to give a shout out to these people because they worked hard on this list. It's not easy to do here, and now the world gets to see it and kind of argue with them. So shout out to those guys. Really appreciate you. And then we have a 60K subscriber goal by week 1 of the NFL, so I would appreciate it very much if you could subscribe. We got all kinds of rankings, predictions on the channel now, and full predictions every single week during the NFL year, so I cannot wait. You're going to want to turn notifications on, subscribe, follow that Twitter for constant NFL talk, and then we have a podcast as well. Link in the description and the comments for anything that you may need there. But number 100 on the fan-voted top 100 list is going to be Joe Mixon. So like I said, the people that voted actually ended up with 90 players. They each made 50-player lists, and that actually turned into 90 players, different players receiving at least one vote. So the 91 through 100, they had to kind of get together and agree on those players. So Joe Mixon of the Bengals makes it as just Mixon in the list at number 100. And the thing I could say about Joe Mixon is I think he's better than the credit he's gotten. Really, I think he's better than most people think. I think he has more talent. He hasn't had the best offensive line, and I think there is plenty more talent than people realize there is what I'm trying to say. But catching the ball in the backfield, running inside the tackles, outside the tackles, and I think as they start to get this team together, as they start to get the offensive line together, he's really going to break out. And we always hear about those running backs from that draft class, McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Kamara, the guys at the top of my head here. But we'll start hearing Joe Mixon's name a bit more as the Bengals get their team together there. So Mixon comes in at number 100 here. Number 99 on the list was Jaylon Smith, the linebacker of the Cowboys. In my opinion, he had to do a little bit of carrying last year, mainly Van Der Esch hurt. But, yeah, Jaylon Smith, to me, is the best linebacker in that Cowboys unit. But hopefully more of Van Der Esch that we saw the rookie year for this upcoming season. But yeah, definitely one of the better linebacker units. But Jaylon Smith leading the way, very talented dude. I've been mentioning a lot lately that I wish they would kind of get involved in pass rushing games. So I use him in blitz packs a little more because I think he has that talent. But they rely on him so much, middle of the field, even downfield in coverage. But yeah, Jaylon Smith, the voters agreed to put him here in the list at number 99. Number 98 on the top 100 list, voted by the fans, Calais Campbell. And Calais Campbell was with the Jacksonville Jaguars recently, obviously now with the Baltimore Ravens. What I like about Campbell, we've seen him move around from a 3-4 defensive end to a 4-3 defensive end to a 4-3-3 technique, which is basically a defensive tackle. And now I believe he's going to play 3-4 with the Ravens. So we've seen him bounce around a bit, even with the Jaguars alone. We've seen him play as an edge rusher, and then they bring in Josh Allen last year, and they already have Yannick Ngakoue, and they want those guys to rush the edge. So they're going to use Calais Campbell inside a little bit, and he's still making a giant impact. And now he's going to go with the Ravens. And what I love about that pickup for the Ravens is, they've always had really good defenses, really good secondary. Don Martindale's a heck of a coach, and they've always generated their pressure mainly from the inside linebackers in their 3-4 because of blitzes, and they definitely need more pass rush from the D-line and the edge rush position. So they kind of mainly had run-stopping defensive linemen. So they went out and got Calais Campbell, and that is a key pickup because that's something they've been missing a little bit, pass rush from the D-line, and they went out and got it. So he comes in at number 98 on the list here. Number 97 is going to be Byron Jones, was just with the Dallas Cowboys, now going to be with the Miami Dolphins, made the highest paid corner in football. And people, I think, overreact from that. They think, wow, he's not the best corner in football, but he happened to be be a free agent at the right time. Jalen Ramsey is going to be the highest paid after this upcoming offseason here, free agency. Unless he's extended before then, he'll be the highest paid corner. But Byron Jones, I think, is worth that money because he was actually a safety originally for the Cowboys, was solid there. They moved him to corner because they needed cornerback help, and they see his potential there, and that was more of an important role in their defense. In just 2 years playing it, right off the bat, I should say, he was just lights out. So he actually, even though he's already feels like a polished corner, he still could have some learning to do and improving to do, and that's a great thing because he can be a top-tier corner for the Miami Dolphins for a long time there if that's the case. So he comes in at number 97. Number 96 is going to be Josh Jacobs, just makes the cut, the Raiders running back. The Raiders, pretty balanced team. Nobody that really, they didn't really have anybody that can take over, stand out, but now that guy is Josh Jacobs to do so. We've seen the difference with him in there, and then the Raiders without him at the end of the season last year. Obviously a key part to opening up the passing game for Derek Carr there. It's going to make his job a lot easier. So already a big-time player, big-time back right off the bat in a rookie season when he didn't even play the full season. So a lot of potential for Josh Jacobs there. He's number 96 on the fan-voted list here. Number 95 is going to be Akeem Hicks, looking to be healthy this year. We've seen him 2 years ago absolutely dominant, and last year beat up a little bit, and then he finds his way at number 95. So tough to expect, what to expect, I should say. I think he'll be, if he's healthy, he'll be a big-time player, and they need him. Eddie Goldman opted out, so a big role for Akeem Hicks, but a little bit, on the backside there behind him, and on the outside, you have a pretty good linebacker core there in their 3-4 defense, so he definitely has some help. But very key to them for their, not only the run stopping, the run game, but interior pressure, which is game-changing as well. So Hicks, number 95 on the list. Number 94 is going to be Courtland Sutton of the Broncos. Broncos added some key young receivers to the group, so will that take away from Sutton's production? I don't really think so. I think he's just continuing to get better. We've seen the step up last year, so what is he going to do this year? I think he's a do-it-all receiver. People see big body guy, contested catch guy, but you see them give him screen passes, use him everywhere because he has tremendous vision, and he's a tough dude to bring down. I think he led the league in broken tackles after the catch last year out of receivers, so that was very impressive. Now he's kind of got his quarterback set into place. He's got some help. The whole defense isn't focused on him, so a guy with a ton of upside that can continue to get better. He makes the cut here at number 94. Number 93 is going to be Rodney Hudson. The group that voted here agreed that he could be the second best center in football and was well deserving of making the top 100 list. And yeah, you see that Raiders offensive line, kind of getting complete finally. One of those not really exactly worst to first, but in that area they went from worst to first, and he's been a key piece in that, but they just needed some more pieces around to kind of complete that group, and you see the studs that are already there really start to stand out, and that's a guy like Rodney Hudson, who's a very consistent, solid center, one of the best in football, so he's 93. Number 92 is going to be a free agent. As of right now, a free agent could sign at any time here. Jadeveon Clowney, formerly on the Seahawks, was on the Texans, then on the Seahawks, and now he's a free agent, and that is absolutely wild because this guy's a top tier player in my opinion. A football player, especially when it comes to a top 100 where you're kind of taking away the positions and you're just ranking. Clowney is a big time football player. I think he can move around, play different spots. He's an edge rusher, but he's also dominant in the run game. He pretty much was the second he stepped in, and then he gets pressure after the quarterback was doubled more than anybody last year. So this is a football player here, and a guy that I think can actually get better if he finds the right home here and kind of get settled in somewhere. So he comes in at number 92, best player right now. Number 91 is going to be Kenny Golladay. So like I said, the people that voted, there ended up being at least one vote for 90 players. So Golladay actually didn't receive a vote. The group of people that voted came together and decided on the 10 that should be 91 through 100, and he was the first one chosen. I was actually surprised he didn't receive a single vote for the people that made their top 50 list there. Very shocking there, but I guess he's a borderline there if you're ranking top 50. But a guy that's definitely on the rise, going to continue to get better. I think pretty similar to Courtland Sutton when I say, you look at him and you think he's this contested catcher guy, high point in the ball, but he's way more than that. Another guy that you can give the ball anywhere on the field, phenomenal after the catch. It's a guy that he's still great even when Stafford's out. He's still great because he's that talented of a receiver. He's definitely going to continue to get better and better, so hopefully be better ranked than number 91. So now on to the top 90, and these guys got votes. Remember, key thing to know, each of these people that voted, each of these fans, they created a top 50 list. So with these players, we'll see their highest rank from an individual person and their lowest rank. So Mark Andrews came in at number 90. Somebody ranked him right at 50. So these people made it top 50, and he ranked right at 50. And that was his highest rank out of all the lists I evaluated there. And lowest rank, obviously, a bunch of people didn't rank him in their top 50, so that would be his lowest rank. But he comes in at number 90, key piece to the Ravens offense here, obviously. And they like their tight ends, and he kind of leads the way. And they really expected a guy like Hayden Hurst, who now is with the Falcons, to kind of take control of that. But Mark Andrews, surprisingly, is the best tight end in that group and is the best fit for a guy like Lamar Jackson and his success. And I think his blocking is pretty underrated too. Seen him in Oklahoma, just making plays downfield, and I don't think anybody expected him to be as good of a blocker as he is as well. So he comes in at number 90, received a vote here. Number 89 is going to be Grady Jarrett. The highest he was ranked was right at 50 as well, and there were multiple people that did not rank Grady Jarrett, but he comes in at number 89 on the list here of the top 100 players voted by the fans. Grady Jarrett was absolutely dominant and really carried that Falcons team. If you look back, we all know the Falcons defense is pretty rough, but how much did Grady Jarrett carry that defense, in the run game and the pass game? It was pretty much on him and we've actually seen him pull and get outside to make run stops on outside runs, almost sideline to sideline. Absolutely ridiculous, or I should say center of the field to sideline. And then it was up to him to get the pressure because it was non-existent. So if he had some better talent around him, he could even be better than that. So honestly, I think deep down, the talent-wise, Grady Jarrett, probably better than 89th overall player. That's where he was voted here today in the NFL by the fans. 88, Geno Atkins. The highest he was ranked was number 49 overall on somebody's list, and he definitely received some not ranks, in terms of the people's top 50s. But number 88 in the list, obviously a little bit of an off year last year, but still a good year. Before that, he was kind of playing at an elite level. Maybe it's been a couple years since we've seen an elite level, but we've seen a lot of greatness from Geno Atkins. Now he finally got some help. They're going to put DJ Reader next to him on the Bengals defense line, and that can take some pressure off him. And he can go back to getting in his interior pressure, which obviously is a game-changing thing, and what can make him maybe even a better rank than number 88 next year, perhaps. Number 87 on the list is going to be Justin Simmons. He received a vote at 49. That was his highest rank, and then his lowest rank obviously was a not ranked in the top 50, so outside the top 50. Justin Simmons had a breakout year last year for the Broncos. They're free safety, playing a lot of single high free safety, which is basically a center fielder. He has the range, the length, the athleticism, the ball skills to do it, and he kind of just showed us that now. He's been solid before that, but really just showed us now what he's made of, and he can take on that role there, that important role for the Broncos. So he comes in at number 87 on the top 100 list here. 86, give me Logan Ryan, who's actually a free agent as I'm speaking right now. In my opinion, was definitely one of the better slot corners in football last year. He recently came out and said he's a safety, and I could see that. There's a lot of guys that play in the slot, play in the box that were originally either corners or safeties. They really don't have a title. They really can do it all. So he's going to play in the slot. He had a very important role for the Titans, all over the place. Seen him spying, helping contain Lamar Jackson, helping very much in the run game, manning up, slot players, even covering downfield. So a lot of responsibility. A little surprised the Titans didn't get him back, but they do have a pretty good corner group. They drafted Christian Fulton, who actually could play in the slot, or they can move Adoree Jackson there. So they have players, but a little surprised. He does want a bit more money than I guess what people are wanting to give. But the highest rank for Logan Ryan, somebody ranked him at 48, and then he had some not ranks, and that means outside the top 50. So he's number 86 on the list here. Number 85 is David DeCastro, ranked at 48, highest rank, and then the lowest rank was not ranked, obviously, and then he comes in at number 85 here. DeCastro, obviously a key piece to the Steelers' offensive line. Definitely some years ago he was probably ranked, above 85, so maybe around that 48 range was probably accurate. But now people are starting to see, some of these young guards step up. And then maybe starting to forget about him a little bit, but he's still that key piece there for that Steelers offensive line, and which helps their running game going, which is very good when healthy. So DeCastro finds himself at number 85 on the list. 84 is Keenan Allen, received a vote at 46, was his highest rank. And then had some not ranks, obviously, 84 on this list. Keenan Allen of the Chargers. I think a do-it-all type of receiver as well. Plays in the slot, plays outside. Fantastic footwork, fantastic route runner. Consistency, I always say that. I just think consistency when I think of Keenan Allen, because you know what you're going to get from him. You're going to get some really good play every single week. He's not going to let you down. And I remember right when he came in the league, right off the bat, he looked really good, but then he just kept getting injured every year, just kept getting injured. And everyone, I think, in their head, it was programmed in their head that guy's really good. It's just unfortunate. He's one of those injury-prone guys, and all of a sudden, his body or something figured it out, and he's been staying healthy, knock on wood. And you just love to see that. You just love to see that. So, yeah, he got a rank at 46, so you love to see that as well. He finds himself at 84 on the fan voted top 100. 83 is going to be Allen Robinson. So another receiver here, the Bears receiver, had a rank of 44 at his highest, and then did receive some non-ranks, which is outside the top 50. But Robinson really taking over the Bears receiving corp there, and really carrying the load too, because they've had some rough quarterback play, and Robinson's really able to. Yeah, I feel like Robinson's always had kind of mediocre quarterback play, and he's still able to kind of stand out. Obviously dominant against man coverage because of his strength and his contested catch ability. Very good along the sideline as well. and is kind of their key piece to their offense, the Bears, that is. So he's at 83. And we actually have back-to-back Chicago Bears. Eddie Jackson comes in at 82, was ranked at 43 at the highest. You look at 2 years ago, he almost played, he probably played like the best safety in football. Last year, a little more responsibility with Adrian Amos gone. Still plays very well, especially given to what he had to do out there. But if he's able to play his game, which is kind of sit back in the back end, play the free safety, and just read the field, read the quarterback's eyes, that's where he makes his money. That's where he makes his plays, and we've seen him do it multiple times. He's so good at just recognizing the play as it's happening, mainly due to being able to read the quarterback, which I think is one of those things you're almost kind of born with. I think those things, it's either you can do it or you can't. It definitely helps to watch a ton of film in trying to prepare to what's coming at you. But some guys, can watch all the film in the world, and it's something they just still can't do. And Eddie Jackson's got that. So he's at 82 on the fan voted list. And the last one of this episode, number 81, is going to be DeMarcus Lawrence, who also had a highest rank of 43, the Cowboys pass rusher, and then had some not ranked as well, obviously. And he's going to have to potentially carry the load here. They do bring in Aldon Smith, who can step up. Some young guys like Joe Jackson, Dorrance Armstrong could step up, but DeMarcus Lawrence is what the teams are kind of game planning for in terms of who we got to focus on the most. So who's going to be coming after the quarterback the most here, and I think that kind of helped Robert Quinn last year get going and having kind of a career year. But now they lose him. They have DeMarcus Lawrence. I actually like DeMarcus Lawrence. I think where he's underrated is his containing, because he's not always, and a lot of edge rushers are like that, but he's not always rushing the passer. He's always, he's stepping back and trying to read the play, putting his hands up, deflecting the pass, but kind of reading the runs, and that's why he's not rushing. So I think he's kind of underrated in that aspect. I would like for him to get a little more pressure than he's been getting the last couple of years, but I think now's the time, and he has the ability to do it. It's a guy I was very high on in the pre-draft process, so I think any time now we can kind of get one of those years that we already saw that got him that big-time money. We can see one, and he's been playing good, but we kind of can see that breakout again any time now here for DeMarcus Lawrence. So recap the first episode, which was 100 down to 81. Joe Mixon 100, Jalen Smith 99, Calais Campbell 98, Byron Jones 97, Josh Jacobs at 96, Akeem Hicks, Cortland Sutton at 94, Ronnie Hudson, Jadeveon Clowney, who's currently a free agent, Kenny Golladay at 91, Mark Andrews made it at 90, Grady Jarrett, Geno Atkins, so 2 D tackles in a row there. Justin Simmons, 87. Logan Ryan was 86. He was actually a free agent at the moment. David DeCastro, Keenan Allen, 84. 2 Bears in a row, 83 Allen Robinson, 82 Eddie Jackson. And DeMarcus Lawrence ended the episode at number 81. But now we are going to move on to the top from 80 to 61, actually, here. Onto the top 80. Devin McCourty comes in at number 80, the Patriots safety, a playmaker in the back end for them, and a key leader to that great secondary. He had the highest rank from this group of people of 41, and then there was obviously people that did not rank them in their top 50. I remember each of the people that that participated in this, in the making of this, made their top 50 players. They didn't write out their top 100. So somebody ranked McCourty at 41, but he averages out to rank 80 here on the top 100 players. What I like about McCourty is that he's still able to be that much of a, dominant player in the back end at his age. You see he hasn't really lost a step in his speed mainly, which is crazy. You see him track down people, catch up to people, receivers downfield, which is crazy you think that would start to be something that's declining here at his age, but he comes in at number 80. Number 79 is going to be Brandon Graham, the pass rusher, defensive end from the Philadelphia Eagles. Somebody ranked him all the way up at 36, and then obviously he had some no ranks there in people's top 50 lists. So Brandon Graham, number 79, still going strong with the Eagles. Very, very excited to see that Eagles defensive front this year. They add Javon Hargrave, Malik Jackson's back from injury, and they'll have Graham and Barnett on the outside of them rushing the passer. So really excited to see that front there. Number 78 on the list is going to be Darius Slay. So actually another Philadelphia Eagle here, even though he was just playing with the Detroit Lions. Of course, they trade him over to the Eagles. So a cornerback makes the list here. Somebody ranked him as high as 46. He also got some no ranks, which is outside the top 50. But Darius Slay, you see the difference of the Lions when they have him in and out of the game. He's got knocked out with some minor injuries in the past, but we see the giant difference. The Lions, maybe one of the weaker secondaries in football when he's off the field, and then, big play Slay's out there making the plays, making the Lions secondary looking a lot better. But they actually went the route of being more balanced, so now they have Okudah and Desmond Trufant. So maybe that could work out for them. A little more balance rather than Slay kind of carrying the group there. But the Eagles finally went out and got a top-tier corner. They've always had the depth. They've always had the depth, some young guys that could be good. But now is the time to stop messing around, going out and get some top-tier talent here. So Darius Slay, number 78 on the list here for the fan-voted NFL Top 100 Players of 2020. Number 77 is going to be Aaron Jones. See a running back pop up on the list here. A monster season for him, was a touchdown machine, was also a home run hitter. It felt like even with Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams did miss some games, but even with those talents out there, Aaron Jones felt like he was the key piece last year of the Packers offense and was a big reason they were able to get all the way to the NFC Championship game. Was definitely a threat for them inside and running outside, catching the ball. And yeah, again, was an absolute touchdown machine. Somebody ranked him as high as 33 on their list, so pretty cool to see that. He comes out to 77 on the list, though. Number 76 is going to be Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is an interesting one because he got, unlike a lot of the players around the rank, the ones we've already talked about, he got ranked a lot more than those guys, but every single person that ranks Stephon Diggs seemed to rank him right around that 50 range, 48, some 49, some 50s. So 76 is what he averaged out to, but yeah, a lot compared to the other guys. A lot of people put them on the list. On the Vikings, now moving on to the Buffalo Bills. With an interesting trade, and it's exactly what the Bills needed. They needed a true number one receiver, a home run hitting receiver. In my opinion, one of the better route runners in all of football. It seems like his footwork is getting a lot better almost day by day. Just want him to cut the drama out a little bit, but a top-tier talent that wouldn't surprise me if he can continue to get better. So, yeah, he had quite a few ranks around that range, you see 48 being the highest, and then he had some people that did not rank him in their top 50, understandable. 76 for Stephon Diggs. 75 is going to be Nick Chubb. So we've seen Aaron Jones pop up on today's episode. Now we see Nick Chubb. Somebody ranked him all the way up at 41, and then he had some not ranks. It's a little surprising, just me predicting what the fans would vote, because this has obviously nothing to do with me making picks or rankings here. I would have guessed people would have ranked him higher. I would have guessed the highest rank would have been better than 41, maybe, even in the 20s, I would have guessed. That's me predicting. And I'm kind of surprised that there were actually several people that didn't rank him. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I still want, Chubb's a great running back. I do want to see more. My question with him coming out of Georgia was how long would he last, because he had the injuries, sneaking up on him. But he is better than expected so far. Very impressive, tough runner and key piece to the Browns. And the new system with Stefanski running the show will feature Nick Chubb. He will get the load for sure. But I was surprised that 75 is where he ended up. 41 was the highest ranked, and that people did not rank him. I was just a little surprised. Again, not saying it's right or wrong, but he's 75 on the list. 74, another running back, Alvin Kamara. I think this will spark some debates here. The Alvin Kamara versus Nick Chubb, and maybe even throw Aaron Jones in there. But we've seen them interesting, kind of, obviously a coincidence that these two running backs that are pretty even in talent, you can debate both sides, Kamara and Chubb, that is, they rank right next to each other, 75 and 74. Kamara, somebody ranked him up at 44, and he had some non-ranks. Those rankings really don't surprise me because, again, this list, when these people made these lists, their top 50, it didn't really, wasn't really based on last year, wasn't based on the past. It's just right now. But everything, a collection of things and what you saw on the field obviously goes into that. And I know what's recently in everyone's head is that, yeah, he did not have a good season last year due to some injuries, him playing through injuries. So maybe that sticks with people's heads. So that's why I'm really not surprised that, maybe, yeah, his highest rank was 44, down at 74. But interesting debate between Kamara and Chubb. Who do you think is better? So yeah, I'm sure this list will spark some good debates there in the comments or in the chat if you're watching this as it goes up. And we're going to have some more of those with some of these rankings coming up. 73 is going to be Marcus Peters. So we see another corner pop up here. Marcus Peters at number 73, and you see his highest rank at 43. I'm a big Marcus Peters guy. I'd probably rank him much better, higher than 73. Big-time playmaker back there. Pretty good duo there with him and Marlon Humphrey for the Ravens. And, I think he's still got a lot of ball left in him as well. I think one of the better playmaking corners, one of the better ones at attacking the ball, reading the quarterback's eyes, in the NFL and that aspect there. So 73 for Marcus Peters, the Ravens corner. 43 was his highest rank. 72 is going to be Cameron Hayward, the Steelers defensive lineman. Somebody ranked him all the way up at 36, and then he had some not ranks for the people's top 50. A little surprising. I feel like almost everybody should have had him ranked perhaps, but again, it is a top 50 they're making, not a top 100. 36 was the highest rank. The combination of stopping the run and getting after the quarterback and one of those guys that he's just super consistent. You know exactly what you're going to get from him. That's pretty high level play there and a key piece to the Steelers front and what makes, people think TJ Watt these days. That's kind of the hot name for the Steelers defense, but Cameron Hayward is what makes a lot of that possible and what goes on in that defense. Not all of it, but a lot of it. So he's 72 on the fan voted top 100 list of 2020. 71 is going to be Amari Cooper. So we see a receiver pop up. We've seen Stephon Diggs. Now Amari Cooper actually from the same draft class. That's an interesting debate for sure because, some people think one's better than the other. Both fantastic route runners, both very good with their footwork, and then some very solid hands as well. And Amari Cooper's kind of got that toe tap specialist that he adds along with that. Somebody ranked him all the way up at 34, and obviously he had some not ranks on people's top 50, but he comes in at 71. On to number 7. This is where things get interesting. We had a quarterback. Carson Wentz hits number 70. Somebody ranked him at 34 on their top 50 list. And then he had a few not ranks, of course, there. But the Eagles quarterback at 70, and it's a tough one to rank because we've seen the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl. He was about to win the MVP before the unfortunate injury. He was playing that good. Ridiculous at such a young age, so early on in his career. He was playing that good. Eagles still win the Super Bowl, though, because it's a very complete team that year. And Carson Wentz comes back. He hasn't really felt the same since to me. Obviously, he's been good, had his good and bad moments, but we still see the upside. He can kind of get back to where he's playing. So it's a tough one to rank. What do you base this on? Where do you think he's going? How much of that factors into your head when ranking? So definitely a tough one to rank. Number 70 on the list, and again, somebody ranked him all the way up at 34. So high hopes there for him, which is realistic for sure. 69 is going to be Odell Beckham Jr. So we've seen a couple receivers already pop up. Now OBJ pops up, number 69, and almost can compare to in terms of ranking to Carson Wentz in a way because it's tough to rank because we've seen Odell, arguably one of the better receivers in all of football a few years ago. Has he really played at that level? Maybe not too far off, but we all know the talent is ridiculous, and the talent is for sure there. So that's definitely why, it's understandable why he makes the list, understandable why somebody can put him all the way up at 30. But you see 30, you see not ranked, he ends up at 69. Everyone's split on him, and that's kind of how Carson Wentz was too. So interesting one here at 69 on the list. 68 is going to be Dak Prescott. So this is where things get interesting. There's always that, that huge rivalry of the Cowboys and the Eagles in the NFC East. And then you got this Dak Prescott versus Carson Wentz, both young, a lot of experience, improving quarterbacks that are very solid. You always see this debate. Who is better, Dak Prescott or Carson Wentz? And the fans that were involved in this, maybe not all of them, but together, say Dak Prescott is 2 spots better than Carson Wentz when talking all football players here. 68 for Dak Prescott. 33 was his high, and so obviously he had more ranking spots than Carson Wentz, more features, I guess, on people's list, but the lowest ranked obviously was not ranked. So pretty close there between the two. I think for both, I want to see both of them stay consistent because there's those wow, crazy moments, elite moments, really, moments. That doesn't make them elite in general, but you see they have the play in them. We see they have the potential, young ages, good experience already, but then they have those kind of sloppy moments. There was a stretch in the middle of the season for Carson Wentz where the Eagles were looking sloppy, and then when the Cowboys needed to clutch up. I remember the Bears game. The Bears game late last year was such a key one, and Dak just did not show up in the cold in that game. So that's what I mean by I want to see them both more consistent. But we all know that the talent is there. The talent is for sure there. 67. Another quarterback. So 3 quarterbacks today alone in this episode from 80 down to 61. Matt Ryan makes the list. Somebody ranked him all the way up at 23, and then he had a good amount of no ranks, of course, as well. 67, though, is where he's at. And, yeah, Matt Ryan, that MVP Matt Ryan was absolutely ridiculous. That was, only a few years ago, and we're talking about him in a list like this after that year being ranked in the top 5, perhaps, because he was that good. Last year, statistically, it looked really good last year. I think early in the year, I always talk about this. I think it kind of goes unnoticed. I think, it's easy to say the defense kind of blew it for the Falcons, which it kind of did. The defense was a little rough. But I think early in games, Matt Ryan really wasn't executing, which kind of kept the defense on the field a lot of the time. That was early in the year and early in games. I think second halves of the games and the year, he really started to pick it up and see the old Matt Ryan. So what does that mean? Are we going to see more of that inconsistency, more of the starting slow in games this year, or was he trending in the right direction, and that's where he's going to stick with his game at this year? So interesting to watch out for. Somebody obviously thinks very highly of him, ranking him up at 23, and it's possible he can definitely get back to playing there. It's not a reach at all. 66, going to be Kenny Clark, arguably the best nose tackle in all of football, and still at a young age here. The Packers nose tackle comes in at 66. 31 was his highest ranking, and then he had some no ranks there in the participants' top 50. But 31 was a high rank. That's a pretty high rank for him, well inside the top 50. And yeah, I think a pretty underrated player. People don't really, I guess, talk about nose tackles a lot, and that's because nose tackles are usually only involved in stopping the run. And where's today's NFL heading? It's a lot of passing game. It's more passing game than it's ever been. So for a nose tackle to make it, they have to be able to get some pressure, interior pressure. Kenny Clark does that, and that's where I think he's underrated. People think, oh, he's just a nose tackle. No, he's more than that. He can move around a bit as well. So it's definitely a bright young talent here coming in at number 66. 65 on the list. It's going to be Richard Sherman, so another corner pops up. We've seen multiple corners today in this episode. But Richard Sherman, after a big year last year, somebody ranked him all the way up at 31. He had some no ranks. 65 is where he lands. And that brings up the debate, I guess, when ranking him or not, or how high you rank him is, yeah, because his front seven definitely helped him a lot, but he played very, very well. And then maybe in some people's heads, they don't think he's going to continue on with that. So it just depends on how you view things when you rank them. So I can understand why this one's kind of spread out a bit. You see highest ranked 31. There's been some no ranks, and then he ends up at 65. But a very impressive year last year for Richard Sherman. 64 on the top 100 players of 2020 voted by the fans. It's going to be David Bakhtiari. We just seen Kenny Clark pop up with the Packers. Now we see Bakhtiari of the Packers. Definitely been one of the better tackles in all of football the last several years. Highest rank was at 35. He had some no ranks. Pretty soon in this list, we're going to see a lot of guys that had actually a number for highs and lowest. So we're getting through these guys that received some no ranks. But yeah, Bakhtiari holding it down there for the Packers, protecting Rodgers on the left side of the line. Last year, I think a very good season, but maybe not that elite season that we're used to. Let's see if we can get back to playing that. But he's at 64 on the list. 63 is going to be Demario Davis of the Saints with a crazy good season last year, not only stopping the run, but being rangy sideline to sideline and really in the passing game as well, covering downfield. But 63 on the list. Somebody ranked him as high as 31. Yeah, he was kind of one that was all over the place in terms of the rankings. There was some people that had him as high in the 30s. Some people had him barely making the list, and then he had a few not ranks as well. and that resulted in him being number 63 on the list. But a monster season last year. Let's see if he can continue. So I guess that brings up, what's in people's heads when they're making these top 50 lists, because before last year he was definitely good, but last year really boosted his stock. So how much do you put into that, a combination of the past, or how much are you thinking about just last year or going forward? So that's why it's a tough list to make. But he's at 63 for this year. 62 is going to be Marlon Humphrey. So another corner. We've seen Darius Slay. We've seen Richard Sherman, Marcus Peters, and now Marcus Peters' teammates on the Ravens, Marlon Humphrey. A good debate between the two corners on the same team, the teammates, on which one is better. Marlon Humphrey more of the lockdown, physical corner that has some speed. Marcus Peters more of the playmaking, read the quarterback type of corner. Marlon Humphrey beats out his teammate on the list, voted by fans, number 62. His highest rank was his number 44. Fun fact, he actually had a couple ranks at exactly 44. So that was very interesting. Love to see some weird things that are coincidences like that. And lowest ranked, he had some not ranks there that maybe pushed him down past that 44, a little lower than that 44, which he got 2 ranks at. 62 is where he comes at, though. I'm just so impressed by him too, because he was almost just more of that athletic guy and with upside coming out of Alabama. Like, played very well in the SEC, which is impressive, but just athletic. Used to be a track guy. Does he have much else? And he's put on tremendous strength and physicality to his game, and that's just absolutely impressive to me. And the last one on this episode, number 61, is going to be DeForest Buckner, former San Francisco 49er. Now, after a big trade, now on the Indianapolis Colts there, which they desperately needed a guy in the interior there. He comes in at 61. Somebody ranked him all the way up at 34, and he had some not ranks there. We'll see him. Seen him inside with Arik Armstead, inside of Nick Bosa, guys like Dee Ford, a lot of time playing inside just Nick Bosa there for the most part. And now he goes to the Colts, going to play with Justin Houston. So we'll see how it translates, or what the transition is like. I think if you just see a good football player, then he's going to continue to play good football, and that's what I see here in DeForest Buckner. Interior pressure will be key, because we all know the Colts get an upgrade with him going in there and stopping the run. That's a given. Getting pressure is what he's actually been able to do, but that'll be what the world is kind of watching, what the Colts fan is kind of watching. Can he bring that interior pressure that they desperately need right away for them to make this the year one with Phillip Rivers? So that offense going to need some help from the defense, and that definitely steps up with a guy like DeForest Buckner. So he comes in at 61. Again, the highest rank was 34 for him. To recap the last episode, again, right now what you're watching is the third episode. So the last episode had 80 down to 61. Devin McCourty, number 80. We had Brandon Graham, Darius Slay, Aaron Jones, Stephon Diggs at 76. Number 75 was Nick Chubb, Alvin Kamara, Marcus Peters, Cam Hayward. Number 71 was Amari Cooper. Carson Wentz made number 70 on the list. Odell Beckham Jr., Dak Prescott, Matt Ryan, Kenny Clark, number 66. Richard Sherman at 65, David Bakhtiari, Demario Davis, Marlon Humphrey, and then DeForest Buckner ended last episode at number 61. So now we are on to 60, and DeForest Buckner's former teammates, actually, Fred Warner, makes the list here at 60, the 49ers linebacker. Just a good example of today's style linebacker, extremely athletic, extremely rangy, very good in coverage. I think that's where it stands out the most, though, where he stands out the most is, kind of on the outside zone runs, and him just, just being too athletic for the blockers to even, get their hands on, and just getting sideline to sideline and making the play. And this, a few years ago, this was kind of viewed as an undersized maybe needs a little more strength and a little more size to him. But now this is kind of what today's NFL linebackers are starting to look like. So absolute freak, still with some potential. He's 60, the highest rank he got. Remember that each of these people voted or created their top 50. So the highest rank he got in somebody's top 50 was 33, and then some people had him not ranked on their top 50. He hits number 60 on the 2020 players voted by the fans. Number 59 is going to be Anthony Harris, the Minnesota Vikings safety. So just off one breakout year, there was some people that were very confident in his game to put him on the list. Yeah, he had a big-time year last year. Big-time playmaker, maybe one of the better playmakers in the back end in football, kind of playing that free safety role for the Vikings. It felt like he actually won them some games, getting the key turnovers. Somebody ranked him all the way up at 35, and then he had some not ranks as well. He makes number 59 on this year's list. Number 58 is going to be Mike Evans, the Buccaneers receiver. Highest rank was all the way up at 26, and some people did not rank him. So that'd probably be argued in the comments. Maybe not saying I agree with it or not, but I could see a group of people not really agreeing with the group of people that maybe didn't rank him in the top 50. But Mike Evans now has Tom Brady, so we'll see if that can improve his game, maybe a little more accuracy there. But still, one of those we're starting to see some of those big body contested catch receivers starting to fade away from the NFL, and the speedy route running guys are kind of sticking. And then why is Mike Evans? Because Mike Evans' specialty is the contested catch, downfield, red zone, all that. But he has a lot more to his game, some tremendous footwork for a big guy, and that's what keeps him top tier in the NFL. He's at number 58. Number 57 is Joey Bosa, who just got a huge contract extension, the highest paid pass rusher in football of the Chargers here. Number 57 on the list, highest rank was 30. And then he had some people that did not rank him. I want to see Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa's been pretty consistent when he's in, I suppose. Like you don't get anything crazy, or you don't get terrible games from him. I just want to see him take that next step and be more of an impact player. I mean, he is an impact player, but more flashy. Get a good total of sacks and pressures on the year. I expect a little more out of him at this point, but definitely a very good player. That's the reason why the Chargers extended him, for that big money, that big contract. But number 57 on the list for Joey Bosa this season. Number 56 is going to be Lavonte David, the Buccaneers linebacker. So we see another Buccaneer already on the list here, and we just got started. Somebody ranked him all the way up at 31. He had some not ranks. But Lavonte David, such a good linebacker for so long, it feels like, and that was playing as a 4-3 outside linebacker most of his career. And then the Buccaneers switched to a 3-4 last year, so I thought this was going to be interesting. Where's he going to play exactly? Because I really thought he was strictly a 4-3 outside. He kind of had that bonus to his game that he can blitz and get after the quarterback. But he played inside. He played it very well in the 3-4, extremely well. And they kind of used him in the blitzing game from the inside. I think this guy can play pretty much anywhere back there at any linebacker position. Absolute stud, very instinctive. 56 on this year's 2020 list, voted by the fans. 55 is Minkah Fitzpatrick. So we see another safety. We've seen Anthony Harris. Now we see Minkah Fitzpatrick. Somebody ranked him all the way up at 28. And he comes in at number 55. Big year, after getting traded to the Steelers. Was a playmaker in the back end, always stepping up and reading the ball and taking the ball away. That was big time for that defense. There was always the concerns on. It wasn't really a concern, but people were always worried about where is he going to play. Is he a slot corner? Is he an outside corner? Is he a free safety? What is he? He can play all, so that's good, but. The Dolphins didn't really feel confident in a specific spot for him, but the Steelers brought him in, stuck him at safety, and he proved that he can be a top-tier safety here. He makes it on the list this season at 55. 54 is Dalvin Cook, so another Viking makes the list here. The running back of the Vikings, 19. High rank was 19. That is pretty darn high there, but he is very, very talented. For me to rank him that high, I just want to see him stay healthy for the whole year, but the talent is most definitely there. I think the combination of burst and vision, which I think go together so well, maybe the most important traits you look for a running back, can they hit the hole? Can they see the hole? Can they hit the hole with some burst? And Dalvin Cook might be the best example for that, and he makes people miss, after that too, after the fact, downfield. So very talented, but just needs to stay healthy. 54 on the list. Highest rank was all the way up at 19, and some people did not rank him. I'm assuming those people probably know he's talented as well, but just want to see him stay healthy through the whole year, and I'm waiting for the same thing, so hopefully he can do so. 53 is going to be Tyron Smith, the Cowboys tackle. Somebody ranked him all the way up at 26, and he had some not ranks there, according to some people's top 50. but comes in at 53. Yeah, key piece to the Cowboys' offensive line here. One of the better offensive lines in football. An absolute beast. At any given time, you can view Tyron Smith. It wouldn't be surprising if he was, at the end of a year, was known as the best tackle in the game, even though there's some pretty darn good ones there. But he makes it 53 on the 2020 list voted by the fans. 52. Going to be Brandon Brooks. Brandon Brooks is actually out for the season. Unfortunate Achilles injury. He still makes the list because it's just on talent right at this second. And that's impressive that many people who voted, even though this guy's hurt, viewed him as that talented. Can't disagree with it. Somebody ranked him all the way up at 20, and then some people did not rank him. I think that probably factored in that he can't play this year. Maybe that factored in a little bit. That would be tough, in my head too. If I were to rank the top 50, it'd be tough to rank a guy like that, because how much of that factors in. But a very talented guard, one of the best in football, and he makes the list at 52. So very impressive. A guy that we know can't play this year still makes the list and easily makes the list. 51 is going to be Shaq Barrett. So another Tampa Bay Buccaneer makes the list. And Shaq Barrett, off of one really good season, a breakout season, makes the list. So I think that's why the fans were split here. We've seen somebody rank him all the way up at 21, and then we saw some no ranks from people, and that's maybe those people didn't want to base too much off 1 year, or they want to see more still. We all know he's talented, but is he top 50 talented based off 1 year? So that's a good debate we can have in the comments in the chat here. But Shaq Barrett, really talented year last year. People look at the sacks at 19.5, but I thought he did more than that. Even dropping back almost in coverage, getting his hands on the ball as well. But yeah, that's an interesting debate. If you were to rank the guys based on right now, maybe not just based on 1 year and not predicting the future, where do you put Shaq Barrett? Are you confident enough that that it's more than a 1 year thing for him? So it's a tough rank, but crazy talented based off last year for sure. 50 on the list. Devontae Adams, the Packers' top-tier receiver here. We've seen the Packers with and without him last year. Obviously, they need him on the field. The combination of route running and footwork kind of go together, but that and I think contested catch ability. We've seen him over the course of his career being a touchdown machine because he's that good at the contested catches inside the red zone or really anywhere on the field. The combination of that I think is rare, and that's what makes him stand out. And he is a extremely key piece to that Packers team there. So he makes it 50, and the highest rank for him was 26. So we see some of these guys that are maybe lower have a higher rank or a better highest rank, but some of these guys maybe just got more votes or more consistent votes there inside the top 50, and he is right at 50 on this year's list. Number 49 is going to be Lane Johnson, so another Philadelphia Eagle offensive lineman makes the list here. Lane Johnson, somebody voted him all the way up at 13. There wasn't too many that voted him that high, kind of just one there, but he did make some lists here, and that 13 definitely boosted up his stock in terms of creating this list, but he comes in at 49, the right tackle, the key piece to the Philadelphia Eagles there, and impressive. You've seen this Eagles offensive line making the list, and maybe we're not done yet. 48 is going to be another Viking, though, so we see Vikings hitting this episode here. Eric Kendricks, one of the better inside linebackers in football last year and maybe in general. Always been a solid run stopper and getting better and better every single year in terms of his pass coverage. I think the impact plays on 3rd and 4th down really stood out for him last year. Somebody ranked him up at 26. He had a few rankings, I believe, in around those parts. And then he had some no ranks to keep him around this 48 range on the list. So we're seeing a couple Buccaneers, a couple Eagles, a couple Vikings already make the list. 47, and there is another Philadelphia Eagles offensive lineman, Jason Kelce, known as, I think, pretty clearly the best center in football, and that definitely helps when making a list like that. Knowing a dominant center is out there and a key piece to the Eagles offensive line. He's definitely going to receive some votes. So somebody put him all the way up at 28. Some other guys, behind him, we just went over, probably had some higher rank. Even his teammate Lane Johnson was voted up at 13, but Kelce had more votes and more consistent in terms of where he was ranked, for the most part, inside the top 50. But he's going to come in at number 47 on the 2020 NFL players voted by the fans. 46 is going to be another Philadelphia Eagle, Fletcher Cox. One of the better defensive tackles in all of football. Somebody ranked him all the way up at 19. So that definitely boosted his stock here. 19th best player according to somebody here. 46 overall when you combine all the fans that voted. I think he's gonna have a big year this year. I think last year a little bit off, but still very good. And that kind of just shows how good Fletcher Cox is, because everyone knows last year was like compared to normal in terms of production. It was a little off, but still really good. So that just kind of shows how good he is. But, adding Javon Hargrave in there, I think, is big for Fletcher Cox. Having a true nose tackle in there, I think it's going to help him. So I think he's going to have a highly productive year for the Eagles there. Excited to see that defensive line. But he's at 46 for this year's list. 45. Chris Godwin. We've seen Mike Evans of the Buccaneers. We've seen several Buccaneers in this episode alone, but we've seen Mike Evans, a Buccaneers receiver. Now we see Chris Godwin. And that's an interesting debate. I love these things that pop up in the same episode here that can bring up an interesting debate. Which Buccaneers receiver is better, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans? I honestly think if you polled everybody, every fan, they'd probably say Mike Evans, but then if you polled them on which one you think is going to be more productive or, more used more, maybe it could be Chris Godwin. I think the perfect type of receiver, he's already proven that for Bruce Arians, filling that slot role, but not only a slot guy, but for Tom Brady, I think this is a big-time receiver. I expect a ton of catches, a ton of production. Somebody ranked him up at 30, and he makes a list at 45, so that tells us exactly what happened. A lot of consistent rankings around, this range, so that's why he is in at number 45. So in the comments, in the chat, interesting to see who you guys think is better. I think you can answer that both ways. I think Mike Evans as a whole of his career obviously has been better. He might have the more wow talent, Mike Evans, that is. Chris Godwin might have more to his game, though. More bounce to his game. He can do more, and he might be more productive this year. So it's an interesting debate. You almost can have it yourself. I'm doing it right now. So he makes 45 on the list. And look at this. Tom Brady at number 44. So we've seen the Buccaneers' new quarterback and his top-tier targets make the list. Somebody ranked him as high as 16. He actually had quite a bit of no ranks, but then there was some ranks that were pretty high around the 16 part. So you mix together those, well above 44, well below 44, or not well below, but outside the top 50. And this is what happens here. So kind of expected that. The kind of all over the place rankings. Definitely one of the players out of all 100 players, one of those ones that, had the rankings kind of all over the place. You kind of expected that too, because some people are probably just thinking Brady now, where's he heading? And then some people are, thinking this guy's going to be great on the Buccaneers. Some people are thinking of, kind of a collection of things he's able to do in his career. So kind of expected that. He comes in at 44. We've seen a lot of Bucs make the list today, including Tom Brady and his top targets there. So very interesting. And then next, number 43 is going to be Derwin James. So we've seen Anthony Harris. We've seen Minkah Fitzpatrick. Now we see Derwin James. We only got to see 1 year of Derwin James, but it was very impressive. Today's style safety. And this is the type of safety that makes me think that safety is way, way more important than most people think. This style player is very important, has a lot of value to the team. Really a do-it-all guy, more than his safety. You catch him in the box, catch him even getting after the quarterback, catch him downfield, making plays in the back end. Just an absolute beast. And Chargers got to steal with him. Everyone knew at the time, when they took him that late, mid first round, how did he last there? But number 43 on the list, highest rank was 20, did have some no ranks, but again, makes 43. Number 42 is another safety, Tyrann Mathieu, another guy that I would consider more than a safety. Plays slot corner, plays in the box, plays a bit, everywhere. He'll get after the quarterback at times as well. Makes the plays downfield, even down the sideline. You've seen him get. He comes in at 42. Highest rank was 31, so he really wasn't, super far up there for the highest rank. But again, very consistent, a lot of votes, and that's what puts him at 42. But did have some no ranks there on people's list. But a lot of safety, so that would be a good debate as well. Matthew versus Derwin James versus Minkah Fitzpatrick versus Anthony Harris. I think all different safeties. You almost can compare Matthew and Derwin James, and then compare Anthony Harris and Minkah Fitzpatrick based on the roles they played last year. So very interesting. And the final one for today's episode, number 41, is going to be the Maniac Darius Leonard making the list. This was one I was surprised on. I'm surprised that 24 was his highest rank. I would have guessed, inside the top 20, and It's probably a guy I expected almost everybody to rank, and there was a few not ranks there, no ranks for people. Maybe if anything, maybe one or two people that didn't rank him, but there was more than that. So I was surprised that 41 is still a good rank, and I'm not saying I really disagree with that. I'd probably put him. It's a tough one because, yeah, it's a guy of the future for sure, even though he's already been very good. So it's definitely a tough rank if you're basing on him right now. Especially, you have to think about other players as well, of course. You can't really just think about this one player and where he's ranked. But it's definitely an interesting one. If I had to predict, I would have thought, some, better, there's some more votes maybe in general. But definitely an interesting one. It's just one of the more impressive guys. Small school kid, and you watch the tape on him, and nothing's really the same. It's mind-blowing on what he's able to do, how much more there is to his game, coming into the NFL day one. He has that bonus of being able to get after the quarterback, but he's excellent in coverage as well. He's an absolute freak, and he's going to continue to get better. Recapping the last episode, which was 60-41, Fred Warner came in at number 60, Anthony Harris, Mike Evans, Joey Bosa, Levante David at 56, Minkah Fitzpatrick at 55, Dalvin Cook at 54, Tyron Smith, Brandon Brooks, Shaq Barrett, Devonta Adams came in at number 50, Lane Johnson 49, Eric Kendricks, Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, a whole bunch of Eagles in last episode, and a whole bunch of Buccaneers. Chris Godwin at 45, Tom Brady, the GOAT at 44, Derwin James, Tyrann Mathieu, and Darius Leonard ended the last episode at number 41. Now we're on to 40, down to 21 here. Number 40 is going to be Nick Bosa, so we've seen a few Niners pop up recently. Here's another one. Nick Bosa, only 1 year played and already on this fan voted top 100 list. Highest rank was at 25, so somebody ranked him as high as 25 on their top 50 list, where there was people that did not rank him. I could see that being split. Some people, based off 1 year, don't want to throw him in here yet, but some people know he's definitely good enough. I think I always talk about it, the impact he made, in the right moments, whether it was setting the tone very early. I think of the Packers game during the year, in the playoffs, setting, making that big play early to kind of give them that boost momentum, and then he would show up in big-time games, at the right moment, close games, get that sack on that third down, that fourth down, create that turnover. I felt like he showed up at a lot of those moments, and that's kind of what the great guys show up. So Nick Bosa, definitely a bright future. He's number 40 on this year's fan-voted list. Number 39 is going to be Kevin Byard. So we've seen a lot of safeties pop up. Now, another one pops up here in this list, Kevin Byard, the Tennessee Titans free safety. Highest rank was up at 25. He did receive some no ranks there. You could argue maybe the best free safety in all of football, but he does more than just kind of sit in the back end. You'll catch him up in the box at times as well. So a very talented safety that really can do it all. You see the safeties that do more than just their one strict safety position are usually strong safeties, but Kevin Byard, the rare free safety that can come up and do multiple things here, and a playmaker in the back end for sure. He comes in at number 39 on this year's list. Number 38 is Drew Brees, so a future Hall of Famer here. Somebody ranked him all the way up at 9, and we've seen some inconsistent rankings here between the people, because you had some people ranking him as high as 9 or around those parts, and you had some people either not ranking him or ranking him in the lower end. So interesting debate there, where he's at his career right now. Does that factor into it a lot? Still very good. Maybe some people kind of going off production, not super productive. Remember, he did miss some games last year, and was still able to come back and play at a high level. So, maybe a tough one to rank, but kind of expected to see some people rank him in the top 10, and some people, rank him towards it is surprising to see some not ranks, maybe, but he ends up kind of in the middle there, where he was ranked, obviously, at 38. Back future Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers comes in at number 37. So you see Drew Brees' highest rank was 9. Aaron Rodgers' highest rank was 10. So in terms of highest rank, Drew Brees had him beat. A little more consistent actual rankings or making lists, votes for Aaron Rodgers is what puts him one spot higher. So Brees one spot higher, highest ranking. Rodgers one spot higher in terms of the actual rank. So it's interesting how that works, how the quarterbacks line up right next to future Hall of Fame quarterbacks right next to each other in this top 100. So pretty cool to see something like that. Rodgers obviously still playing at a high level. Maybe last year, maybe we expected a little more, but that's the thing about Rodgers. I can actually see him playing better and kind of going back to the Rodgers we know, and that can kind of spark the Packers to take that next step, which remember they made it to the NFC Championship game last year. So Rodgers, number 37 on this year's list. Number 36, going to be J.J. Watt, highest rank at 12, had some no ranks, yes, so kind of all over the place with this ranking as well. I think it has to do with people trusting his health at this point. So it's understandable, kind of expected that you had different rankings because when he's healthy, he's that talented where you can push him in the area of 12 there, as you can see. But then can you trust him? Because it's been some time since we've seen him play a full season and every single game. But, the talent, I think it's a rare talent J.J. Watt has. He's an edge rusher at the same time of being a defensive lineman that's not an edge rusher, almost getting pressure from the inside. There's a rare amount of players that have that ability there. And you see him get taken out of the Texans defense. It feels like the whole scheme changes. The whole game changes for them. He's that important. So understandable that he's all the way up at 36 and why maybe he got a vote in the top 12 there. 35 is going to be Ryan Ramczyk. You see somebody ranked him all the way up at 5. That is some high praise for the young tackle for the Saints, who's going to continue to be a top-tier tackle and continue to improve perhaps. Number 35 is where he makes it. So you see some rankings that were kind of all over the place. Somebody had him up all the way at 5. We've seen some kind of in the lower end of 50s and then not ranks. So he gets up to 35 though. But protecting Drew Brees, not allowing really any pressures. I think he allowed 1 last year. And that's at his young age, so he's going to continue to get better. So there's definitely people that believe he can be or is the top tackle in football this year, and he comes in at number 35 on 2020's fan-voted list. 34 is going to be Ezekiel Elliott here. Another one that had higher rankings that I actually would have predicted. Not saying it's wrong or right. I just kind of me predicting where the fans would put guys. He had quite a bit of rankings there, in the 15 range, inside the top 20. But then he had some people that didn't rank him. I think a lot goes into it on how you view running backs. I think some people don't rank running backs because they don't view them as important. But Zeke makes it number 34. I was surprised by the rankings around the 15, but could be a big year in McCarthy's offense this year. Can't wait to watch. Can't wait to watch that offense go to work. Very excited for the Cowboys this year. But Zeke, number 34. 33 is going to be Cameron Jordan. Another Saints player pops up. I think pretty consistent rankings. We did see somebody not rank him, but you see his highest rank around 22, and he's really not far off the highest rank, around 33. Some ranks in that range, maybe 40, 45, around there. So I think that's pretty consistent for the most part, and it might have something to do with him being a consistent player. Like, what you're going to get from Cameron Jordan. You're going to get some top-tier pass rush. He might not be the very best pass rusher on a season. He'll probably be pretty damn close, but he'll kind of be that consistent guy. You see some of these top-tier pass rushers in a single season. Sometimes they disappear one year, and that's just not Cameron Jordan. Sometimes with the other injuries on the defensive line there in New Orleans, he's got to carry the group, and the focus is on him, and he's still able to play at a high level. So consistent ranks for a consistent player. Cam Jordan, 33 on this year's list. 32 is another pass rusher. Here's the Darius Smith. 8 was the highest ranking. Had some people not rank him. And as you know, this is my guy. So Darius Smith's my guy. He was based on 1 year. Definitely want to see more, but I'm confident with him. This was my Defensive Player of the Year vote last year. Highly productive, but created for his teammates and doesn't just play one position. He moves around, makes an impact from several positions. So all that together, usually those types of players aren't highly productive, but he was. So that really stood out to me. I thought he was game-changing. I thought he made that much of an impact where it felt like not really alone, but if you take him away, there was probably some games they don't win. So I thought he was the key piece to the Packers last year. So somebody's kind of in agreement with me ranking him up at 8. There was a few rankings around, the 15 range, I believe. But then there was some people that definitely want to see more. Maybe they think he's only working out maybe because he's in that new Packers scheme. I really don't know. I wouldn't agree with any of that. I really don't know what it is. Maybe people don't want to base things off of 1 year. So you see the rankings were kind of all over the place for him. But it's a fair ranking. Because we don't want to base too much off one season, but it's definitely a fair ranking around 32 there for Zadarius Smith. Number 31, Harrison Smith, the Vikings safety. Highest rank was up at 17. Lowest rank was not ranked. I think another one of the more consistent rankings, around the 17 to 40 range. Maybe not super consistent, but yeah, in that range. Another guy I think you know what you're going to get, from him. What I like about Harrison Smith, he can play free, he can play strong, catch up in the box. My favorite thing about him is he's insanely instinctive. The play recognition is next level. You watch him and this guy watches a ton of film, and he has a very high knowledge for the game. So I think the importance, he might not be the best talent. You can argue it that he is, but you may go for the Vikings defense. You may go Danielle Hunter, maybe Eric Kendricks, but I think Harrison Smith might be the most important player to that team. And then he's very talented as well. So he makes 31 on this year's list. 30 is going to be Myles Garrett. Let me tell you, I talk about who was consistent in rankings, looking at everyone's rankings, who was inconsistent, kind of who was all over the place. And Myles Garrett was this year's all over the place. I mean, rankings around 7, around 10, and then you got a bunch of he probably at this point probably had, or not up to this point, but around these parts, around 30, had probably the most non-ranks, but he still made it up at 30 because he had ranks around 7. Yeah, like I said, 12, 15, around there, but then he had the no ranks. It was really, Myles Garrett was all over the place with these rankings, and it's not really that surprising. I mean, he definitely should get a vote because the guy is crazy talented. Maybe people penalize him for hurting his team by, getting suspended, doing something stupid, and that could factor in. That shouldn't take off talent, obviously, but he did hurt his team in the situation last year down the stretch of the season, so maybe that's kind of stuck in people's heads still. But crazy talented at any given time. I think he could be the best pass rusher in football. So, yeah, pretty crazy ranks there all over the place, and that results in him being number 30 on this year's fan-voted list here. 29 is going to be Tre'Davious White, and now we see our first player that received a vote from every single fan that voted here, every single voter. So the highest rank was up at 13. The very lowest rank that somebody gave him was 48. So it's good to finally see somebody that received a vote from everybody. So that's great. Tre'Davious White, a very solid corner. Obviously, everyone thinks highly of him. The thing that interests me the most about Tre'Davious White, you kind of go back to the draft, and everyone knew he's going to be a solid corner, but most people thought he'd be a solid slot corner, and here he is, a top-tier outside corner in all of football right now. So you love to see that. He wasn't really doubted talent-wise, but people may, because of his size, maybe he might have to play slot. Can he be that good outside? So in a way, he was doubted. Overall talent, not really, but it's good to see it. He's getting better every step of the way. I think crazy improvement last year. And the Bills' defense continues to be strong, and that only helps his game. So he comes in at number 29 on the list. 28, it's going to be another Viking here, Danielle Hunter. And we've seen he was ranked on every single list as well. Highest rank is at 14. Lowest rank was at 47, and that makes him number 28. Another one that's crazy improving every step of the way. You go back to LSU with him, he really couldn't get to the quarterback. He was getting some pressure, but he really couldn't get the sacks, which everyone wants to see. But he was a dominant run stuffer. So the Vikings see he's already polished in terms of stopping the run. Let's get him going, getting after the quarterback, and they've done it. This guy's an absolute freak, getting better every step of the way, pretty consistent. So can't wait to see if he can continue to improve here for the Vikings. But he comes in at number 28, and the highest rank for him was 14. Next, we got Zach Martin with a crazy high rank at number 4. This is another one that was kind of all over the place because you see there was some people that didn't rank him, and then we had somebody rank him at 4, and then another ranked was inside the top 10 and around those parts. So it's not quite as crazy as Myles Garrett where he was across the board, but not far off. Zach Martin, pretty crazy ranks there. Not that I disagree with them, but just all over the place. And then obviously averaging them out ends up at number 27. But obviously one of the better guards in football. You can debate Quentin Nelson versus Zach Martin, but what you can't debate is really anyone else beating them out for that top 2 spot, in my opinion. So Zach Martin, very consistent, and that leads him, not consistent in the rankings though, but that leads to him being number 27. 26, Chandler Jones. One that I was surprised that received a no rank. I know it's only top 50. People aren't ranking their top 100s here, but you would think a guy that almost should be close to guaranteed to making every top 50 list. And I was surprised. I figured, if I had to put money, and again, not agreeing or disagreeing, but if I had to put money on it before I saw these fans' rankings, I probably would have guessed somebody would be bound to put him in the top 8, top 10, maybe top 8. Maybe even pushing 5, out of all those people, maybe one person. But 14 is still a pretty good rank, and I think it's a fair rank. But that's his highest rank. He had a no rank. It was another one that was kind of all over the place. That results in Chandler Jones, the Cardinals pass rusher, being number 26 on the fan-voted list of 2020 here. 25 is Deshaun Watson. Number 9 was his highest rank. He did have a no rank. We saw Breeze a little earlier in this episode. Deshaun Watson beats him in the final ranking here, but they both had highest rank of 9. The difference was Watson getting more ranks and more consistent ranks around those parts, obviously, which led to him being a higher rank total. Deshaun Watson, dominant for that Texans team. You see him go out and win games. The most important player to that team, the playoff game, he goes out and wins that game for that team, and that's what he is. He's a winner, and we knew that pre-draft process, and the teams changed a little bit, but they still have Deshaun Watson, and they're still going to go out and win because of that, and the crazy thing is he can continue to improve. I think his offensive line has improved. They kind of got the unit together, so that can mean Deshaun Watson can continue to improve, but some people didn't rank him. If I had to pick, I'm a big Deshaun Watson guy, but if I had to pick apart his game, there is some times where the sack he kind of results on him. The offensive line hasn't been great, but he'll kind of scramble a little bit too much or run into the pass rusher. So if maybe the people that didn't rank him were kind of thinking about that a bit, because if I had to pick apart his game so far, that's one thing I'd say. But I do love me some Deshaun Watson, and he's number 25 on this year's list. Number 24, Ronnie Stanley. Highest rank 15, and he had I think that was pretty consistent with most people around that range, in the 20s maybe, but then there was some no ranks there, and that kind of dropped him a little bit to 24, but a lot of people, majority of people rank him around those parts, the 15 to 25 range, still kept him up here, I guess, to rank him 24, but one of the better tackles in all of football last year, a guy that I think can play, I think he's proven he can play in any scheme, that he's proved that he's improving. A power blocker and a key piece to that Lamar Jackson offense. Lamar Jackson can run. Obviously, it's hard to stop, but you're gonna need some guys to open up some kind of lanes for him, and that's what Ronnie Stanley's there for. So he comes in at number 24. 23, Jalen Ramsey, a guy that was ranked by every single voter here, so you love to see that. And we've seen the first one on this entire list was a cornerback that got ranked by everybody. That was Tre'Davious White. Now we see Jalen Ramsey up here. And based off last year, maybe, Tre'Davious White better, but we all know the talent that Jalen Ramsey has, and now he's going to play for that contract. We expect him to play every single game this year on a contract year, and we all know he's going to go out and ball. He can very well play like the very best corner in football at any given time. Somebody ranked him up at 17. We've seen lowest ranks around 44. Pretty consistent, though, in the 20s, 17 to the 25 range. And then since he didn't receive a no rank, since he received votes from everybody, that puts him at that 23 spot. So, you just love to see guys that were voted by everyone. It's cool to see which guys that everyone, thought was good enough to actually rank. So Jalen Ramsey, number 23. I'm expecting him to ball out this year. 22, we got Tyreek Hill. We had a highest rank of 11, a lowest rank of 43. So even though he was ranked by everyone, even though he got a vote from everyone, it was a little bit kind of scattered where he was ranked, because you're seeing people rank him in the top 15. We see 11 there in the top 20. So we've seen a chunk of people rank him better than his rank 22, but then we've seen a chunk of people rank him around that 35 to 43 range around there, and kind of splitting the difference. But not having a no rank, having a vote from everybody puts him at number 22. And it's another guy, I think that's a fair ranking, but I also think it's a fair ranking to put him around 11 where his highest rank was. And at any given time, I can actually say that this guy, because you talk about the 3 receivers, which we'll talk about eventually on this list, the top 3 receivers, everyone knows who they are. We can definitely involve him in that category. We definitely can. At any given time, he can pass those guys. So, again, though, I think it's a fair ranking. but you see the difference. Highest rank 11, lowest rank 43. He comes in at number 22. And 21 is next year, the final ranking of this episode. And there's a certain fan base that really isn't going to be happy with this, and I disagree with it as well. But Derrick Henry comes in at number 21. You expect, you almost expect a sure thing top 10 for a guy like Derrick Henry. And you see the highest rank all the way up at 3, the third best player in the NFL. We've seen some ranks, multiple ranks inside the top 10. Then we've seen some ranks really close to 50. And then we've actually seen there's one person that did not rank Derrick Henry, which is absolutely shocking to me and will shock a lot of people. 21 is a pretty good rank still, but you think the dominance that Derrick Henry brings to the field, that's too low in my opinion. I know a lot of people disagree. But there were people that voted. You see 3. We've seen people vote him in the top 10. Multiple people. But there's other players that received those votes, and there's those players maybe received all votes. All possible votes. So there was a couple votes down in the close to the 50 range and the not ranked range, and that pushed him down to 21. But I don't know. I talked about it with Zeke. Maybe some people don't value the running back position, but. To me, it's a guy like Derrick Henry. It's not really the same. It's so valuable to them. The run game will open up the pass game. That's a great example why Tannehill was able to play at a pretty high level. The best he's ever played is because Derrick Henry. There are teams that are game plan for Derrick Henry that are kept on their toes. They're the crowd on the line because of Derrick Henry, and that opens up the pass. So he is a game changer without really, even when he doesn't get the ball. I think people kind of knock him because, they compare him to McCaffrey. McCaffrey is, and you can't compare the styles, but they compare them because they're top tier running backs. But McCaffrey, I think the reason why most people will put McCaffrey ahead of Henry is because how much he's involved in the passing game, McCaffrey that is, and he is crazy involved. But I think people automatically assume Henry really isn't. Maybe they can throw the ball to him more, but it's not really a knock on his game. People should not be penalizing him. It seems like every time he gets a slip screen, it's the same thing as him running the ball. He's a big-time problem. In fact, a lot of those big chunk plays come from plays like that. So maybe it's just a matter of the Titans giving him more of those. But people, I think, penalize him for that, and that's not a talent problem there at all. But yeah, kind of going back to what I was saying, he opens things up for the passing game, but I was mentioning how he does that. Team's game plan for him. They crowd the line. There is a lot of times, a lot more than anybody else in the NFL, that they know for a fact. And remember, a lot of the playing defense is a guessing game. A lot of it is just going off not football knowledge. It is a guessing game out there. And these defenses know for a fact he is getting the ball and sometimes where he's getting the ball, and they still can't stop him. So for all those reasons I just explained, it is mind-blowing that he received a no rank there in a top 50. I think everyone should have had him inside this 21 rank, well inside. So there's some that I disagreed with along the way here up to 21. But there really hasn't been one that I've strongly disagreed or had to, actually speak it that I disagree with it. This is kind of the first one that I have to go out of my way here and say it because 21, it's still a pretty high rank, so you can't really complain too much. It's a good rank, but it should be better there. It should be better in my opinion. I think he's that dominant of a player. We'll see what he can do this year. People were saying, well, they're ready for Derrick. They were ready last year for Derrick Henry, so we'll see what will happen. Recapping the last episode, 40 through 21, Nick Bosa, Kevin Byard. We had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers at 38, 37. J.J. Watt, Ryan Ramczyk, Ezekiel Elliott, Cam Jordan, Zadarius Smith, Harrison Smith at 31. Myles Garrett at 30, who had rankings all over the place. 29 for Tre'Davious White, Danielle Hunter at 28, Zach Martin 27, Chandler Jones at 26, Deshaun Watson 25, Ronnie Stanley, Jalen Ramsey, Tyreek Hill, and then Derrick Henry came in at 21 there in last episode. But 20-11. We're going to have some surprises today. Here we go. Number 20 is Travis Kelce, the Chiefs tight end, who recently got his extension. Well-deserved for sure. Highest rank was at 14th, And in the last episode, we've seen a lot of players that are quite a few in the first ones that had ranks from everybody. But here we're starting this episode with a guy that actually received a no rank from somebody. Remember, these people voted, they created their top 50, not 100, each of them top 50. So it makes sense that a lot of people had no ranks, but a bit of a surprising one, but was ranked as high as 14, and he finds himself at number 20 on the 2020 fan voted list here. 19, it's Travis Kelce's teammate, Mitchell Schwartz, another Chief here. Highest rank was all the way up at 9, and another guy that received a no vote there from somebody. But Mitchell Schwartz, in my opinion, has been a pretty consistent and maybe the best tackle in all of football, a key piece to keeping Mahomes protected. And then we see on the players list, the actual list, he doesn't even make the list, which was mind-blowing in my opinion. And the fans look like they agree with me there because he falls in at number 19 on the list and had a high rank of 9 and some pretty good ranks there to get up to 19. So definitely agree with that one. 18, another Chief. Chris Jones, another guy that got his big contract extension this offseason, and he comes in at number 18. He had a high rank of 9 as well, and the lowest rank of he actually wasn't ranked by someone, which is very shocking to me. But to me, Chris Jones, I would rank him even better than 18. I think it's a dominant, I'd even call him elite defensive lineman. Was playing that 3-4 for a bit and was dominant. And in 1 year, switching to a 4-3, I kind of worried he'd maybe get a little less pressure coming from the inside. It's pretty much similar to the same position he's played, but just coming from the inside and just changing what's around you sometimes affects guys, but not Chris Jones. Dominant player, was key every step of the way when he was on the field, even in the Super Bowl. 18th. Definitely agree that he should be in the top 20. I'd probably put him, I'm kind of more in agreement with the person that put him around 9. I can't say I put him quite there, but around that range for sure. So could it be another Chief next? No, we're going to go to New York Giants. Saquon Barkley got some love. 17th overall player in 2020, according to the fans. Another one with the highest rank of 9, and some people did not rank him. So, yeah, a guy that I expect a little bit all over the place, but I expected a little more all over the place in terms of each person's ranking because we know what Saquon's capable of. We've seen the very good play on the field. We just want to see more of it. We want to see the kind of the total package Saquon Barkley. We know we're going to get it, but we haven't really got it yet. So, and that kind of factors in what's in your head, what are you kind of basing it off of when you're voting right now. So that's why I think he was kind of a little bit kind of all over the place in terms of the ranking, but we see the very high and the very low ranking. But comes in at 17, freaky dude at any given time, can be the best running back in football. He is number 17 best player in football, according to the fans. 16, TJ Watt, one of the better edge rushers in football here. Highest rank was up at 15, lowest rank at 34, and his highest rank was actually only one spot ahead of where he's actually ranked. So that might be one of the first times we've seen that in this list, but that's due to just having, because, not a crazy high rank, but pretty consistent and even ranks from everybody, as we see, 15 to 34, especially for guys up here, not that big of a range. For me, TJ Watt's been more impressive, better than I actually thought he would be at this point of his career. Very freaky, sometimes where he kind of has that bonus to his game where he drops back and almost can get his hands on the ball at times, kind of read the quarterback, which is very impressive, and he only can get better from here. So number 16, well deserving of that. 15 on the list, Von Miller. Highest rank was 4, lowest rank was 40. So as you can see, everybody ranked him, which I would hope everyone would rank Von Miller. Everyone did, but a little bit split there. You see all the way up at 4 was the highest rank, high praise there, but he ends up kind of in 15. But it's not really splitting the difference. It's actually more closer to that 4 spot because everyone ranked him pretty well, as they should. Didn't really have too much help off the edge last year. Gets his teammate Bradley Chubb back, so could he have a more productive year? A little less stress on him, a little less focus on him, so he actually could have a more productive year for sure. And another guy at any given time can be the best edge rusher in football. Von Miller, 15 on the 2020 players list, voted by the fans. 14, Bobby Wagner, arguably the best inside linebacker in football. Highest rank 11, lowest rank 31. So a pretty consistent one. Everyone's in agreement on where Bobby Wagner should be ranked for the most part, and he comes in at 14. Freaky dude. for sure. Controls that defense, more involved than, most middle linebackers, kind of just in there, being instinctive, letting his team know, his defense know what they see, sniffing out runs, getting in the backfield. But Bobby Wagner has a lot more to his game than that, in coverage, making plays, and actually getting at the quarterback in the backfield there as well. And it seems like he kind of shows up and makes those impact plays at the big time moments, which only the great ones consistently do. And that's what Bobby Wagner does. Number 14 on the list. 13, certain fan base not going to be happy with this. Maybe a shocker. Lamar Jackson, number 1 on the actual list, the players voted list, comes in at 13 on this list. Obviously still a good rank, still a high rank, but very shocking, and I'm going to say it's actually a low rank, in my opinion, for Lamar Jackson. We'll see what you guys think. Highest rank was up at 3. I'm actually surprised nobody ranked him at 1, to be honest. But 3 is a good rank. We had a couple people rank him up there, but there was actually some surprises. I mean, having a no rank is a shocker. Absolute shocker. I'm going to disagree with that. But then we actually had a couple people rank him below 30. So the no rank, some people think sometimes if a guy has a no rank, that one rank costing him, drops him down. And it did a little bit. I did the math here because I was curious. And the guys that were involved in this were curious. You take that no rank away, average out the rest of them, where would he be ranked? It'd be at 10. So not too much of a difference, but 10 is definitely a much better rank than 13. But as you can see, some of this group wasn't that high on Lamar Jackson, which was very surprising. And again, kind of going back to me saying, I'm surprised nobody ranked him at 1, because you can actually make a case. We're ranking football players here. We're not ranking guys by position. And if you're going to rank quarterbacks, obviously you're going to factor in the passing. And Lamar Jackson can pass. I hate when people say that he can't pass. He's getting better as a passer. But obviously because of the passing game, people are definitely going to rank, and when we're ranking only quarterbacks, Mahomes and Russell Wilson ahead of them at least. But we're ranking just football players. The best players here, regardless of position. Lamar Jackson can, we've seen him dominate. We've seen him control his team. He's what the game plan is based on. He is what the defense fears, what they're worried about, what they're focused on. And he's a dominant player. And it's a guy that you got to fear in multiple different ways. You got to be on your toes in multiple different ways because you don't know what is coming at you, because he can do several things at a very high level. We've seen the Ravens take that next step because of a guy like Lamar Jackson. The offense was changed because Lamar Jackson. The offense wasn't changed really in a way, I guess it was, but to help him really it was, but it's because they have this talented dude that he changes the offense, in my opinion. So I would definitely rank him much better, higher than 13. This was a bit of a surprise, but 13, at the end of the day, it's hard to complain too much, because 13, we're talking all the NFL players. It's not a terrible rank here, but there was some surprises there. I'm sure you guys will be debating, arguing there in the comments about this one. Number 12, going to be Jamal Adams. I was a little surprised how high Jamal Adams was here. I wonder if going to the Seahawks factored in it at all. But the Seahawks' new safety is a big-time player at any given time. Another one of those players that can be the best at his position. Highest rank was 6, all the way up at 6. He actually had a couple ranks around the 6 to 15 range, was a little surprising. Lowest rank was at 28, so everybody ranked him, and nobody ranked him past that point. So that is great, for Jamal Adams. A little surprising, even though I definitely agree that he's good. I like that. How valuable he is. People think safety. Safety's probably not that valuable. It's wrong because of guys like this that could play any safety position, could come up in the box, change the game. He's the one that could be getting in the offensive lines, the quarterback's head, pre-snap. He does everything. He makes the impact. He's a game changer and a playmaker anywhere on the field. So definitely deserving here. Can't wait to see him on the Seahawks defense there. He comes in at number 12 on this year's list. And the final one of this episode, number 11, going to be Quentin Nelson, arguably the best guard, maybe the best offensive line in football, even at his young age. Number 11 on the list. Somebody had him as high as 4. Somebody put him down at 31. So a little bit of a split there, but it's definitely compared to a lot of other guys in this list, I guess on the consistent side. But comes in at 11. and just misses the top 10, but I think we all know the top 10 players left, big-time playmakers, so I think that just shows how good Quentin Nelson is, that he's right there with those guys. And the scary thing is he actually can get better because he hasn't been really in the league that long. Things I like about Quentin Nelson, two things that stand out to me the most is that you can make a highlight tape out of him. You know, when you're watching games, live games, your focus really never ends up being on the offensive lineman. You're more focused on the playmakers. But somehow we're all focused on Nelson because he's pancaking people. He's making these big-time plays. You notice him. You notice him so much. The second thing is the Colts offensive line went from worst to first when they got him, and there's more credit due to just Quentin Nelson. But sometimes you just need to find that last big piece to complete the unit and make everyone else better, and this is a prime example of that right there, and that's Quentin Nelson coming on the Colts offensive line, making that go from worst to first in that range. So that stands out for me for a guy like Quentin Nelson, well deserving of being up there with the big boys, even the playmakers at number 11. So 11 through 20, went from 20 down to 11. Number 20 was Travis Kelce. Number 19 was Mitchell Schwartz, and number 18 was Chris Jones. We had 3 Kansas City Chiefs in a row. Saquon Barkley was number 17, TJ Watt 16. Von Miller came in at 15, Bobby Wagner 14. Lamar Jackson, a bit of a shocker there, came in at 13. Didn't make the top 10. Jamal Adams, now a Seattle Seahawk, at number 12. And then Quentin Nelson, the guard of the Colts, came in at number 11 to end last night's episode. And now we got the top 10. A little bit of a surprise here at 10. Not really maybe the player, but what went on here. Christian McCaffrey, the Panthers running back's going to be number 10, and you see the highest rank was 3. Not really surprising. The lowest rank, there actually was somebody that did not rank. Remember, they did rank top 50. It's still a big shocker here. Each person did not rank 100. They ranked 50, but somebody did not include Christian McCaffrey, arguably the best running back in football, in their rankings. So that might have pushed him down a little bit, but he did have the highest rank of 3, and in pretty solid ranks, you know, around the top 10 as well. But Christian McCaffrey comes in at number 10. I'm sure there's going to be some confusion on why he wasn't ranked, I suppose, but very interesting there. The highest rated running back, though, on the list. So according to the fans, McCaffrey, the best back in football, but comes in number 10, best player of 2020. Number 9, we got DeAndre Hopkins. So we still got the 3 top receivers left heading into this episode. DeAndre Hopkins comes off the board first at rank number 9 for 2020. Highest rank was up at 8, lowest rank down at 24. So, you know, when you start to see guys in the top here, I guess that's a little bit of a gap in between those numbers. Not too crazy. But yeah, his highest rank was only 1 above where he's actually ranked. Now with the Arizona Cardinals, I'm very excited to see that, you know. Really no giant. I mean, Watson's probably better than Kyler Murray at this point. Murray can be just as good probably, but at the same time, the Cardinals will throw the ball more than anybody. They run more receivers out there. So how's that going to be? Is DeAndre Hopkins going to open things up for the other receivers? Is that going to mean, you know, does that mean he's going to get less targets? Or since they air the ball out a ton and he's kind of that key important piece of the offense, you know, is he going to get more action? Either way, he's going to be dominant, and the Cardinals offense should be high-powered. I'm just really excited to see it because there's a lot of questions there on you know, who will get, we know he'll get the most targets, but just can't wait to see that new school to the NFL type of offense there with DeAndre Hopkins in there. So he's at number 9. Number 8, another receiver, Michael Thomas, comes in at 8. And a bit of a difference on high and low where he was ranked. Somebody had him all the way up at 6, which is very realistic and not far off from this 8. And then somebody had him down at 34, which was a bit surprising. And maybe that was the difference to be the second best receiver on this list. Michael Thomas, but still up at number 8. You know, yeah, whether you agree with, you know, him being 8 or not, I think we're in the ballpark here, perhaps. But a dominant receiver that's actually getting better. You know, we knew he's physical. We know he has the contested catch ability. I think every single, maybe not even year, every week possibly, it feels like his footwork is getting better, and he's becoming one of the top route runners. And that's really not a guy nobody really expected to be at the top in that category for sure. But absolutely dominant, and yeah, again, it's scary that it feels like he's getting better and better. He comes in at number 8 on the top 100 players of 2020 voted by the fans. Number 7, quite the coincidence here. We had the 3 top receivers ranked in a row there, 9, 8, 7. Julio Jones makes it at number 7 and known as the best receiver in football, according to this Goat House fans list here. Highest rank of 5, lowest rank of 29. This doesn't really surprise me. I had Michael Thomas as number 1 receiver, you can argue any of these guys, and this doesn't really surprise me because, you always got the feeling that most of the people in the world like Julio Jones. But that also surprised me that somebody ranked him down at 29 because I think everyone is usually consistent on their opinion on Julio Jones. 29 is still a pretty good rank, but that was a little surprising. But he still makes it number 7, highest rank 5. So you see he actually made it inside the top 5 for somebody's list there, but he comes in at number 7. Very cool, I thought, that we happened to be a coincidence that the 3 receivers got ranked in a row because not that many people had them right next to each other, so it just ends up that way. Pretty crazy. So Julio Jones, top receiver on the list, number 7 on the list. Now on to number 6. Number 6 is George Kittle, the best tight end on the list, the best tight end in football, and he just got his big, well-deserved contract extension, getting paid like a top-tier receiver. Definitely well-deserved. I think the tight end position is starting to get more value or recognition. I think the NFL values it very much, but recognition because you have to realize how much the tight end, how much responsibility they have, and George Kittle is a great example, a prime example of that because he can block at a high level, he can catch the ball at a high level and run after the catch. We've seen that as well, but the game plan could be around him against a tight end when the defense is kind of watching film and getting ready for games. And he's only 26 years old, continuing to get better. That's the scary thing. Comes in at number 6. We've seen a high rank of 3. Somebody ranked him all the way up at 3. Not super surprising, but it's pretty crazy seeing tight end at 3, but well deserved. In a lowest rank of 18, so not too far down there. But when we're talking top tier guys, maybe some people would be surprised he was down at 18. But George Kittle, best tight end in football, according to the fans, and number 6, according to the fans. On to the top 5 players. If you're keeping track, you know who they are. Number 5 is going to be the best cornerback in football, and Stephon Gilmore of the Patriots. Highest rank 5, and that's where he ended up being ranked. Lowest rank 13, and why is that? It's because why is it match his highest rank? It's because how consistent he was ranked. You see, there's not much of a gap between 5 and 13, and most of the ranks were right around that 5 range. Compared to majority by a long shot of guys in this list, were pretty spread out. So a consistent view on this cornerback here, Stephon Gilmore for the fans. So interesting to see that for sure, but yeah, just absolutely dominant every part of his game. You can't pick a part of his game that's best. There's some corners that are good at attacking the ball. There's some corners that are good at just being physical, sticking on their receiver, being sticky, in man coverage. Some are good at coming up and making hits. Some of them have a little bit of that, a mixture of those things. Gilmore has everything, everything. The instincts maybe is what pops out the most. You can appreciate having instincts and play recognition, knowing when the ball's where it's gonna go after it was snapped. In that split second, you have to decide what the play is going to be or where the ball is going to go. So that I think maybe is the most impressive. But my point is, he has everything to his game, and he was good in Buffalo, but it is crazy to see the improvements. Once it comes to New England, and it's not really, New England's known for making players better, and yeah, they definitely deserve credit. But sometimes players from New England go somewhere else and they don't end up being as good. But in my opinion, that would not be the case for Gilmore because you can see the pure talent he showcases on the field every single game. So 5 makes the top 5 for Stephon Gilmore. Run of the top 4. Number 4 is going to be Khalil Mack, the Bears edge rusher. Highest rank of 3, lowest rank of 16. So a little bit of a split there. But yeah, most of his ranks were a little higher towards that 3, obviously, which makes him number 4 best player of 2020 voted by the fans here. Khalil Mack, we're in agreement. The best edge rusher in football, the actual edge rusher, plays a 3-4 for the Bears. When he's on the Raiders, he played a 4-3 end, though. So he can do either. And just an absolute game changer, impact player. It's very obvious. I think some people will probably disagree, and we already kind of saw that on Twitter a little bit leading up to this episode. But maybe because he had a little less production last year, but the whole focus was on him. He had multiple guys blocking him. Guys were hurt in the Bears defense, and he's still able to make those impact plays. Even though if you look at the sacks, he still made those crucial sacks or forced fumbles at the right time. And he's absolutely dominant at any given time. You can consider him the best defensive player in all of football there, but he comes in at number 4. We're on to the top 3. We got a quarterback. It is Russell Wilson, number 3. Highest rank was 2, so nobody ranked him 1, but pretty darn close. Lowest rank was down at 8. That maybe even though 8's a good number and it's not too far off at 2 or 3, where he's actually ranked 8, it may be a little surprising. It's surprising that somebody doesn't ranks him outside the top 5, but there are some really good football players, so it is tough to narrow it down. You can't have 5 guys ranked in the top 3. Sometimes I feel like people expect so many guys to be ranked high, or this many guys are too low. It doesn't really work like that. But Russell Wilson comes in at 3. Obviously, consistency stands out. Clutch, at the end of games. They don't call him dangerous for nothing, too, because he makes the plays with his legs, throws on the run, fits the ball in the tight windows constantly. And he's, compared to a lot of these other quarterbacks that constantly winning the Super Bowl, Mahomes last year, those guys always got dominant offensive lines. It seems like you only can go so far, unless you have a dominant quarterback. But I think offensive line, protecting that quarterback's one thing. And Russell Wilson really hasn't had that offensive line that the other elite quarterbacks have had. And that just makes it that much more impressive. He's got a pretty good system, some pretty good talent around him other than the offensive line. But still, definitely an elite football player, an elite quarterback. Number 3 makes the cut for top 3. Number 2 and number 1 left to reveal here. We're going to wait till tomorrow. I'm kidding. We're going to go right now. Everyone knows who they are. And Aaron Donald is number 2 on the list. Highest ranked 1. He had a few number 1 votes, actually, which really isn't surprising. And he had a lowest rank of 7, which is a little surprising, I suppose. But 1 to 7. Yeah, not too far apart there. Comes in at number 2. Really why he didn't, the ranks didn't really matter here for him. Maybe if you're looking at, if he wasn't ranked at 7, he would be 1. It actually wasn't the case. It was just who's number 1. We know who he is. Just got that many number 1 votes, and his lowest rank was at 2. But Aaron Donald, absolutely dominant. It's crazy that a non-edge rusher, even though you can consider him a pass rusher, he's not an actual edge rusher, could be the best pass rusher in football. That is pretty freaking wild, if you ask me. And he's an elite run stopper. We know that. We know he can play a 3-4 end. We know he can play a 4-3 defensive tackle, 3 technique. It wouldn't surprise me if he can dominate the nose tackle position, even though maybe he's a little smaller than most nose tackles, or he can dominate a 4-3 end position. That's how good he is. But currently at the 3-4 end for the LA Rams, they're absolutely dominant. Again, I think the combination of elite run stopping ability and elite pass rush, and the elite pass rush is crazy because he's not a edge rusher, which is a 4-3 end or a 3-4 outside linebacker. Those guys are supposed to be the best pass rushers in football, and you can argue that some of them could be, like Khalil Mack, and at any given time, some other guys can be, but that's just what makes Aaron Donald stand out so much. It's an absolute dominant man. And if you're running his way, it just seems like you're running into a wall. Seeing him clothesline so many people when he's double teamed at the same time, getting the amount of times he gets in the backfield, the impact plays, the game-changing plays he made, it's ridiculous. So understandable why he got a number 1 vote, why he's number 2 on the list. But number 1 is Patrick Mahomes, highest rank 1. He had several number 1 votes. Lowest rank was number 2. So those people that voted Aaron Donald 1 were the ones that voted Patrick Mahomes 2. Under, definitely realistic. But Patrick Mahomes coming number 1, not a surprise. Most important position in football, but you even take that away, he's the most dominant player in football, especially in an offensive league. All the time throughout history, we've seen guys with tremendous arm strength, but have they been accurate? Have they been, the smart quarterbacks? Have they been able to, make moves on, make plays with their legs? It's extremely, extremely rare. And Mahomes has the total package talent. And that's why there's already people saying he could end up being the best of all time. And he's barely even played, it feels like, yet. And that's because there really hasn't been anybody that's had all of the traits combined, packed into one. And he's just starting to understand defenses. And that made him even better. At times last year, you could start to see, he said he hasn't really fully understand it yet, but maybe that's accurate, but you could actually start to see it. I remember a Raiders game early last year. I felt like that was when he started to read defenses and change the plays completely at the line. And every time he changed the play, it worked in his favor. So he's just getting going, in that aspect there. And that's a scary thing. And the Chiefs are defending Super Bowl champions, and they're the favorites for this year, and they're favorites for many years to come. Because they're a talented team, they have other very solid talent, but it's mainly because of this guy. And they had to extend him. They had to pretty much pay him no matter what he wanted, because you can't find it's hard enough to find an average quarterback. Just think about it. How many hits, how many misses there are, how many quarterbacks that are worth a draft pick are in every draft class. There's only a handful, and then we're talking about the ones that actually pan out. It is extremely, extremely rare, and they found the rarest of the rare, so they had to pay him no matter what he asked for, and there was a reason for that for sure. Well-deserved number one vote here, well-deserved contract. And I would agree with putting him number one on the list here, but you can definitely make arguments. And I can argue myself. Like, I find myself debating a top 100 football players list because we're really not going off position. I talked about Aaron Donald, how this guy is dominant pass rusher when he's really not supposed to be the most dominant pass rusher in football. Talk about Lamar Jackson. That's the guy that everyone is kept on their toes about. Talk about, how the game plan is for him. He has a combination of so many football skills, and he was defending MVP for a reason. So you can make the case for guys like those for sure. But not a surprise to see Patrick Mahomes at number one. Can't wait to see your guys' thoughts in the comments down there. We can recap all this in a separate video, talk about which teams had how many players. It'd be pretty cool. But we have a lot of other content to get to for the NFL season, and we'll have full coverage with upgrades to our content for this season. I cannot wait. Again, here were the participants for this. Very excited about this one. I definitely want to do more things like this because this was very fun to do here. So I appreciate these people a lot for putting the time to make their rankings there. It's sometimes it's fun. It's for sure fun to do it, but sometimes it gets a little hectic, trying to make up your mind, especially when comparing players that play different positions. So appreciate them very much. You can find them on Twitter. You can see their names, or you can see them in the chat or the comments here on YouTube. You can discuss with them. We'll try to keep more people involved. I recommend following the Twitter for more updates in that and what we got going forward, and then for NFL coverage on the Twitter as well. There's a link down below for that. Please subscribe, smash that like button. Would really appreciate all that as well. Cannot wait for football. Texans, Chiefs, not too far away. So pumped for that. So hopefully you join us for all of our content covering the NFL. That is going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.